Everyone, this is Mr. Silbaugh here. In this lesson, we're going to talk about lesson writing, and this specific lesson is going to talk about lesson writing for the opening of your lesson plan. So when you write a lesson, you need to start thinking of some ideas, and you need to keep some things in mind when you're doing that lesson plan. So who are you teaching? What are you teaching? Like what contents, what standards? What do you want the students to walk away with? What do you want the end goal for them to learn and be able to do at the end of your lesson plan? And finally, how will you assess your students? How will you be able to measure and know that they understood what you taught them? So these are all things that you need to think about when you start planning for your lessons. So a lesson plan, in general, is chunked into three main sections. We previously covered the opening parts of your lesson plan, like your standards, your grade levels, your subjects, your objectives, all of those. Those go before you even start writing the lesson plan. So in general, a lesson is chunked into three sections. You have your opening, or your beginning, your middle, and your end. So your opening is how you get your students motivated. You want to make sure you have a strong opening in order to keep your students going through a lesson. Your middle is the actual content and what you're going to teach. And then the end is how you tie it all together and bring your lesson to a close. Now, in general, we as teachers don't necessarily always follow this format, but there's always a clear opening, middle, and end usually involved. This lesson is only going to talk about the opening and the beginning of your lesson. So the opening of a lesson plan, or the beginning, this is the very start of your lesson. This is how you're going to start your plan and how you're going to get your students' attention and get them motivated for the lesson. You know, you being students yourselves, you don't necessarily always want to learn, but if you have something where a teacher gives you something where you want to learn, or a teacher gives you some motivation, then this is how it's accomplished. You are given something or told to do something, and that allows you to buy in. And that's what we're talking about today. There are very many ways to start a lesson and to get your students. The first thing is the introductory review, and this is important if you are going to be doing a unit or you are tying previous knowledge from a different day. So for example, if you talked about content like at the beginning of the year and you're going to be talking about something related to that new content, you could bring back some information. There's different ways you can do this. You could talk about the past lesson. This is usually the method that I take, is I'll bring up, hey, remember when we talked about this? What are some things that you remember about this? You can also play a short game or an activity to kind of refresh their memory about what they talked about. You can ask them questions like, hey, what are some things we talked about yesterday? Or what is this in terms of whatever subject you're talking about? Okay? That's the introductory review. Next is the motivation and focus. This is very important. A good motivation and focus grabs your students' attention. So this is where you get your students motivated and ready to learn. What are they going to learn about? And you need to get them focused for the lesson ahead. So some ways that you can get them motivated: you could do a video, you can do a game, you can show them an object, say, oh, what's this? What do you think this is? Or you can do a demonstration of, oh, watch what happens when I do this. You could make a mistake. This is an interesting one that I found out about, is if you give them a mistake, like let's say a spelling mistake or something like that, and you get the kids excited because you made a mistake, and students love to correct your mistakes whenever you make a mistake. And you can also do some moving, get them up, get them motivated, get them running around, not really running around, but get them going in a physical way. And then at the end of your beginning, you do what's called the anticipatory set. It's a very confusing word for just getting them hooked on the lesson. This is where you're going to hook your learner and get them ready to learn the new lesson. After your motivation and focus, how are you going to grab everyone to start your lesson? This is where you say and leave them guessing and wanting more from your lesson. So ways that you could do this, you could propose a question, leaving them wanting to know more. Like after you watch the video, how we talked about in the motivation and focus, you could say, oh, what do you think will happen next? Or, oh, that happened, but could something else happen? You can also tease with something at the end, like you won't believe what's going to happen at the end of this, or leave them wanting more and you give them something to look forward to at the end of the lesson. And you can also make a statement like, oh, you're not going to believe this, or things of that nature where you are grabbing the learner's attention and grabbing them and essentially saying, hey, let's go through this lesson together because you're going to learn something really, really cool. So, in conclusion, for your lesson, the beginning is very important. It's not something you want to forget or neglect because you are essentially grabbing your learner's attention and guiding them through this lesson. This is how you start your lesson, and it's how you keep your students moving through the lesson. And how can you set them up so that they're ready to learn and ready to enjoy what you're going to be teaching them? All right, that's going to do it for this lesson. In the next lesson, I'll talk about the middle, which is probably one of the least important parts, but still very important parts of your lesson plan.